Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. Hope you're all doing well, hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. So today I've got a little bit of a fun little tournament report for you. I went down to my friendly local game store at Lair Salisbury today and we had a 1500 point tournament. We played 3 rounds across the day and it was a ton of fun. I think we had in total 8 players show up. I mean, Lair's not a massive place, but this is a great bit of fun. Our local little game scene, getting together and having a nice little sort of organised event is always a ton of fun. 1500 points is a nice interesting points limit. You get room to take some big things, as you can sort of see, and I'll run you through my list now. So this is the army list that I decided to take. I took something a little bit different, and this might surprise a lot of people on the channel of what I actually took. But I guess let's talk about explaining why I wanted to take what I took. So, taking Disciples of Tzeentch here. I painted up this army at the start of lockdown last year as like the first sort of army I painted up really when the channel started growing a lot like it has. This was like the first sort of painting project I did over, I guess, the lockdown from world events. And they were a ton of fun. And add to that, I wanted to run the big bad Archaon, who I've recently just got, so that's why he's not painted, so apologies there. But, you know, this was just like a friendly local game store tournament. I wanted to take Archaon and I wanted to stick stuff in the sword and run my cool Tzeentch models that I'm really happy with the paint job on. So, talking about the list, playing Disciples of Tzeentch, and I'm not playing in any particular sub-faction. So for my leaders, obviously, I've got Archaon, the Everchosen, and he's going to have the spell Arcane Suggestion, which gives him a few sort of utility things he can do, from mortal wounds to negatives to hit, and some other things there as well. It's a cool little spell, but really, he's all there to just get some Destiny dice and stuff people inside that sword, of which he had, I guess, varying success across the day, but I would say, all in all, he was great fun to play. We then had a Gaunt Summoner of Tzeentch, who was my general, had the Command Trait Illusionist, so this makes him -1 to hit. We then had the Artifact, the Aspect of Tzeentch, and a spell Treason of Tzeentch, which is another one that can make some sort of negative to hit. So I've got a couple of different negative to hits in here. What's cool though about both these characters is that they're both mortal and demon, both Archaon and the Gaunt Summoner. So they got access to both things, which also means they get the Locus of Tzeentch, so they're -1 to hit in combat. This is massive for Archaon when you consider he's also already making your opponent reroll 6s. This came to his safety a lot. Battle Line tunes to 10 Kharak Acolytes and 10 Chaos Warriors because that's what I got painted up. I've got more Kharak Acolytes, but I just wanted to throw in the Chaos Warriors as I'm really happy with the paint job that turned out on them. So that's what we ended up using, and I got an extra command point. This took me to 1470 points, it gave me a good chance for a triumph, a command point, no allies, and 65 wounds, a third of those, almost of which is put into Archaon himself. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. It was a fun little list, it was mostly throwing the models I had. I also have a very limited summoning pool, I only have 10 blues, 10 brims, and 6 furies. So the Gaunt Summoner was almost always going to summon those Furies, because otherwise I can't get them on the table. I'm using the blues or brims for his summoning with the horrors, so that's really what I went for there. I do have some Blood Lizard stuff as well, that maybe I could have taken as well, but for the most part, it was fine with the summoning I had. This army wasn't about casting lots of spells, it was about getting Archaon into combat and making him fight good. Like I said, the meta was very small. I mean, we're playing inside a relatively small gaming shop, but we had 3 Disciples of Tzeentch, all quite different. We had, obviously, you've seen my Disciples of Tzeentch army. We had a Disciples of Tzeentch army that was almost entirely Kharak Acolytes built into the Witchfire Coven, and we had a Tzeentch list which had Archaon as well, but also Kairos and a Chaos Lord on Manticore, so it was all Hero Hammer all day. Daughters of Cain, Snake Heavy with Marathi, Ossiarch Bone Reapers using nothing but Kavalos Death Riders, some Hedonites of Slaanesh, sort of a mixed arms force there, a Skaventide force that had a ton of Clan Rats, a Plague Furnace, and some of the Scry Acolytes, and a Kharadron Overlord's force with an Ironclad. So all in all, pretty cool for a force, a nice distribution of meta, maybe except I guess the multitude of Tzeentch armies, which I maybe played a hand in taking part. And it was funny that both me and my friends were talking and we're like, oh, we're going to bring something cool and different, and we both ended up bringing Tzeentch, and there was another Tzeentch person in there. We thought we were going to be different, bring something different that people didn't really know us for, and yeah, we ended up bringing the same thing. It was funny, but it was a ton of fun. And so the three scenarios we were going to be playing over the day, we played Places of Arcane Power, we played The Relic, which is actually a 40k scenario, but we modified it to fit with Age of Sigmar at current. It's a cool, fun scenario. You sort of have this one objective that everyone's fighting over and carrying across the table, really cool. And then we had shifting objectives, a good old classic good scenario. I really like it. This was our missions. So now let's get into my games. So game one, I played the Disciples of Tzeentch army that had the Pyrophane cult. So this was about, I think, 50 Kharak acolytes backed up by a couple of other things, most notably a Lord of Change. And effectively what this force did is it just moved forward and shot. So I charged Archaon in, I did a bit of charge, I rolled some really terrible Destiny dice and wasn't able to get a charge I probably needed to get. Charged him in, he killed a bunch of stuff, and then was promptly shot off the table in a turn by Kharak acolytes with all their buffs coming out of that coven, and then I was pretty much picked apart for the rest of the game. This one did not go very well and did not go in my favour in any way. It was over pretty quick and pretty roughly, in all honesty, but ton of fun. There's not really much else to say on this game. Archaon died, and then my army just crumbled under the weight of shots that come out of the Kharak acolytes. More people need to look at that Tzeentch list seriously, because those Kharak acolytes absolutely murder stuff when you can get all those buffs off and you just start shooting your opponent with absolutely everything. Ton of buffs that can go off there, and they can really do a ton of damage. Game 2, I was up against some Caradron Overlords and my good pal Leon, who you can see in a battle report on this channel. I've had his Caradron Overlords on before against my Misthaven. This time, I was taking Archaon and taking the Tzeentch. I got the first turn in this game, and so Archaon shot across the board and killed some Arkanaut company early on. He then retaliated by bringing his Ironclad Gunhauler and his Endrin Riggers all across the table, though I had zoned out pretty effectively that he could really only deploy in this sort of tight wedge formation in a corner of the board, which sort of stuck him and made him have to pick targets of varying efficiency. He put some shots into Archaon and didn't manage to do nearly enough with the shooting, and so then he had to try and charge in and do a bunch of damage, and Archaon actually ate the Ironclad up in a single round of combat. Everyone jumped out though, nice and fine, but then I got the turn after, and my Chaos Warriors pinned up the majority of his forces. Meanwhile, I summoned the Furies to the game, and they went and nabbed the objective, along with some help from some Kharak acolytes. With this, I slowly whittled down his forces. His Endrin Riggers came to the fight, and my Chaos Warriors had an absolute baller of a turn. They're only 10 models, so they only reroll saves until they lose one. However, they passed absolutely every save they had to make in the first round of combat they were fighting in. Thus, what this meant is that the Furies and all of that were able to just sort of control the objective, and he was left after this, after dealing with the Chaos Warriors, getting his Gunhauler free and some other pieces free. He had to make the choice of not killing Archaon, because otherwise he would just lose out on points from what we were playing. So he didn't. Then Archaon came in and killed a bunch of stuff. He was sort of left in nowhere to run really with it, because he could target Archaon, but then if he didn't kill enough of the models that were on the objective, holding it and carrying it around, he wouldn't be able to do anything. So Archaon was just a massive distraction. The problem was that distraction was Archaon and came and ate him. So he was left between a rock and a hard place. It really came down to me sort of just putting options out there, making sure my forces were split far enough apart that he couldn't target both Archaon and the rest of my force. And perhaps he made a little bit of a mistake trying to overcommit and trying to take out Archaon. He did get Archaon down to his last 4 wounds though, but unfortunately once you sort of don't kill him, he then kills you back, because the Slayer of Kings is just devastating. This one ended in a victory, and now I sat at 1-1 going into my game 3. Game 3, I was playing shifting objectives versus a murder pony heavy army of Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Effectively, the person who playing the Ossiarch Bone Reapers had grabbed a couple of the box sets, and so he had a unit of 10 Kavalos Death Riders, 2 units of 5 Kavalos Death Riders, Arcan, and a Liege Kavalos. So it was a pretty cool looking army to see across the table. What happened in this game is I got given the first turn, and Archaon managed a turn 1 charge because I rolled a ton of 6s in my Destiny dice, moved up and charged into one of his flanks, tying up a bunch of his units and getting his Liege Kavalos in combat, who then he promptly shoved in the sword. the Slayer of Kings ate his Liege Cavalos, thus meaning he lost a major ability of retreat and charge, which he would have got from his battalion had the Liege Cavalos survived. So this was straight away a massive bonus for me. Because this meant he could move around and sort of claim the objectives, but he couldn't charge me, so he couldn't destroy my units as well. I then got the turn after this, and what I was able to do is then just reclaim the objectives without charging once again, without taking any damage, and meanwhile, Kaon went down and decided to start trying to kill some stuff. And so he went into the middle of the table and started killing some of the horsemen, and ended up killing quite a few of the big unit of 10, who then promptly retreated away, because otherwise Kaon was just going to eat them that turn. However, I then got the turn after this, and what this meant is that I was able to send Archaon and kill 5 Cavalos Death Riders holding a unit on the other side, and then summon some horrors to cap the objective as well, and then floated Archaon back to the center, controlled the center again, summoned some more horrors to further gain control of the board, and at this point, going into turn 5, I just couldn't lose. I was that far ahead on victory points that he wasn't able to catch me, even though he controlled the right-hand side. For the majority of the game, the shifting objective did stay in the center, and this was a massive bonus to me, as it meant Archaon could always influence it, even after he'd gone out to a flank. So this was massive. It just meant that Archaon was easily able to distribute his power. He actually ended the game on his 4 wounds, healing back up the few wounds he had taken in the early turns. And he did great. He ignored a lot of effects of endless spells and spells throughout the game. And probably killed about 15 Cavalos Death Riders during the game as well as shoving the Liege Cavalos into his sword. This was a close game though. Like, he really did pull it back, the Ossiarch Bone Reaper player. It ended, I think, 21-17 in the end. It was a really well fought game. That was a ton of fun. I had an absolute ball playing this game and can't wait to play against the Bone Reapers again. And so, massive thanks at the end of this. This was a ton of fun. 2-1, ended up coming third. Got myself a nice little store voucher as some prizing. Dragon's Lair is always really great with the prizing, and in fact, they're going to be one of the sponsors for the Cinderfall GT. So massive shout out to Len and Peter, who do a wonderful job of running a great store for the community. The community would not be the same without you. And also a massive shout out to my local Age of Sigmar community. Thank you to my opponents in order. Kyle, Leon, and Matt, you're all fantastic opponents. It was a ton of fun to get some games in against some people I haven't played in a long time. So thank you all for that. Thank you to everyone else who came as well. You're all amazing. And thank you to our just wider community for Age of Sigmar. Hope you enjoyed this little tournament report. We should be going to another one next weekend at a different hobby store, which should be a ton of fun, so you'll get to see that one. If you enjoyed this tournament report, let us know below. Let us know what you thought of the list, and let us know if you'd like to see more of these little sort of just quick little roundup videos of the local tournaments as well. Well, thank you for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, while you're here, if you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fun community here at Cinderfall Gaming, you can do so by following the link to our Discord server in the description of the video. And while you're here on YouTube, why not go check out my featured channel section, where there's a bunch of other fantastic Warhammer Age of Sigmar content creators doing everything from battle reports, painting videos, lore videos, tactical videos, and more besides that as well. Lastly though, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who's helped support the channel financially via Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you to our patrons Christian Weir, James, Soren, Kenny Lowell, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Outer and Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, and Augustin Andreas Lopez Diaz. And thank you to our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Fire Titan, Steve T, and The Real Zeop. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. It means the world to us. And if you'd like to help support the channel like these fine people do, you can do so by following the links to either YouTube members or Patreon in the description of the video as well. Thank you all for watching once again though. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.